The early morning sun had barely broken through the dense fog that settled across the small industrial town of Wexley Ridge, but the hum of life had already begun to stir. Factories puffed out steam like clockwork. Coffee shops opened their shutters, and the sound of metal against metal echoed from an old auto shop at the edge of town, Lena's garage. Inside, grease-streaked hands, twisted bolts, tightened engines, and calibrated sensors with a level of care that suggested art more than labor. The shop wasn't huge. In fact, most people drove by assuming it was abandoned with its cracked neon sign and rust-stained walls. But for those who knew cars, it was sacred ground. Lena Rivera, a 32-year-old self-taught mechanic with a head full of knowledge and a heart full of secrets, worked miracles in that little shop. But no one knew just how far her miracles could go yet. Lena had grown up here in Wexley Ridge, raised by her grandfather, a war vet and retired engineer who used to call her Tiny Sparks because she was always playing with his circuit boards. He'd taught her the beauty of systems, the way broken things could work again if you understood their story. But life hadn't been kind. Her grandfather passed when she was 17. She couldn't afford college, so she stayed, took over his garage, and lived by the philosophy he left her with: if something's broken, don't throw it away. Fix it better than before. One gray morning, as Lena adjusted the throttle body of an old Ford pickup, the shop bell rang. Standing at the door was a woman dressed far too nicely for the area heels, clicking on concrete, a silk blouse wrinkled. With anxiety, her name was Sarah Caldwell, and she wasn't there about a car. I know this sounds strange, she began, hesitating, but I was told you fix the impossible. Lena wiped her hands and looked up, curious. Sarah continued, her voice shaking. My daughter, Lily, she's 6. And she hasn't walked since she was 2. Spinal atrophy. The doctors. They've tried everything. Therapy, implants. Nothing worked. But someone told me about you. Lena frowned, stepping forward. Ma'am, I fix cars, not spines. But they said you built something for someone once. A prosthetic limb out of junkyard parts. And it worked better than the hospital version. Please, just look. It's Jestlick. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. Her workshop echoed with the sound of Sarah's voice and the image of that tiny girl in the wheelchair smiling. Radiant but confined. Lena had spent her life rebuilding engines, machines, vehicles, but the thought gnawed at her. Could she? Rebuild a body's strength with the same logic? Could mechanical intuition be applied to something so human, so fragile? The next morning, Sarah returned with Lily. The little girl had a voice like wind chimes and eyes full of galaxies. She didn't ask to be fixed. She didn't complain. She asked how cars breathed. Lena found herself smiling. She'd worked on thousands of machines, but none fascinated her as much as this child. Over the next few weeks, Lena transformed her garage into a workshop of dreams. She studied biomechanics late into the night. She built, failed, adjusted, rebuilt. She scavenged discarded hospital tech, repurposed it, reprogrammed it. Her hands became blistered, her back ached, but she never stopped. Flexible, powered support frame lightweight enough for a child, yet powerful enough to lift. Lily became part of the process. They laughed together as she tried on parts, marveled at wires, and named each screw. The bond between the hardened mechanic and the delicate girl grew strong, unshakable. Sarah, who had once lost all hope, began to smile again. Something magical was brewing in that little garage. Something science had forgotten faith wrapped in steel. Then, one rainy afternoon, it was time. Lena knelt before Lily, fitting the final part of the brace along her legs. You ready, kiddo? Lily nodded, gripping Lena's hand. The machine hummed softly, then motion. Wobbly, slow, but undeniably, stood. Not held, not lifted, she stood. Sarah collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Lena stood frozen, the world slowing to a heartbeat. And then Lily took a step. One. Then another. Tears filled. Lena's eyes as applause erupted from the neighborhood crowd that had gathered around the shop windows. Mechanics, baristas, passersby, they all witnessed a miracle. Lena turned to Sarah. It's not perfect. There's still more to she stood, Sarah whispered. That's more than we ever dreamed. That night. Local news picked up the story. Mechanic helps little girl walk again using scrap metal. But it wasn't about headlines for Lena. It was about something deeper. In a world that always told her she was just a mechanic, she had proved something beautiful. Broken things, even people, weren't lost causes. They just needed someone who believed. As the chapter closes, Lena stares at the stars from her garage rooftop. Lily asleep inside, braced by her bed, whispering in her sleep about being faster than a Mustang. And Lena finally believes what her grandfather always told her: tiny sparks can light up the world. A week had passed since Lily took her first steps in Lena Rivera's garage, and life in Wexley Ridge would never be the same. The footage of her walking, powered by the exobrace made from salvaged parts and dreams, had gone viral. News vans lined up outside Lena's modest garage. Scientists sent emails. Hospitals called nonstop. Journalists begged for interviews. Everyone wanted to know how a mechanic with no medical degree had done what millions in funding and decades of research hadn't make a child walk again. Lena didn't want fame. She didn't even want money. She just wanted to fix things. But the world had other plans. By Monday, a black SUV pulled up in front of Lena's garage. Out stepped Dr. Victor Hargrave, lead researcher at Titan Biotech, a billion-dollar company. Known for its advances in prosthetics and medical robotics. Slick suit, perfect hair, and an ego you could smell before he even shook your hand. "Miss Rivera," he said smoothly, "what you've done here is groundbreaking, unprecedented, and frankly a little impossible." Lena crossed her. Arms grease still on her shirt, and yet there she is. Walking. He smiled cold, which is exactly why Titan would like to bring you in. Full lab access, unlimited resources. A team of experts. Just imagine what you could build with us. It was tempting. But Lena saw through him. He didn't see Lily. He saw patents. Control. I didn't do this to sell it, Lena replied. I did it for Lily, and for anyone else doctors gave up on. Victor's smile vanished. This kind of independent work, unregulated, can be dangerous. Something goes wrong, you could be held liable. But under our roof, you'd be protected, respected. She glanced back into the garage, where Lily and Sarah were laughing over a bucket of bolts. No, Lena said finally. I'll take my chances with hope. Victor's jaw tensed. You'll regret this. And with that, he left. But he didn't leave it there, that night. Her email accounts were flooded with cease and desist. Letters. Lawsuits were threatened. Online trolls, some obviously paid, called her a fraud. Her garage was vandalized. Junk science was spray-painted across her shop wall. Yet despite the noise, families began to come. From all over the state. Then across the country, parents with children in wheelchairs, with neurological conditions, with failing prosthetics, all seeking Lena's help. And though she couldn't help them all at once, she didn't turn a single one away. Her garage transformed into a haven. Her old welding table became a diagnostics bench. Mechanics from nearby towns showed up to volunteer. A retired orthopedic engineer joined her cause. Even a coder from Chicago quit his job and moved to Wexley Ridge just to help build the control software for the braces. They called it Project Second Step. Sarah Caldwell. Now Lena's de facto partner created a foundation to accept donations. Schools brought their science classes to visit. Local kids nicknamed her Iron Mom. And most importantly, Lily kept walking, running even. The brace evolved every week. Lighter, faster, smarter. Lena had found a purpose far bigger than cars, but Titan Biotech wasn't done. He released a statement condemning unapproved rogue engineering and petitioned to shut Lena's operations down. A formal investigation was launched. Government officials showed up. flashing badges demanding to inspect her garage, her materials, her files. A hearing was scheduled to decide whether Project's second step was a public risk. Asterisk, it was the darkest week of Lena's life. Asterisk, donors pulled out. Families canceled appointments. Her volunteers began to fear arrest. She stood alone in the garage one night, tools on the table, an unfinished brace in front of her. The room that once held hope now felt like a cage. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe the world didn't want miracles unless they came with a logo and a price tag. Then Lily walked in. "I made something," she said proudly, holding up a clunky drawing of Lena with wings and a cape. "You're a superhero," Mommy says. "Superheroes don't quit," Lena broke. Tears spilled onto her cheeks as she dropped to her knees and hugged Lily tight. "Thank you, baby," she whispered, her strength returning. "We're not done yet." Asterisk, the day of the hearing, Lena showed up with nothing but her voice. But behind her stood Sarah, Lily, and a crowd of over 200 families who had benefited from her work. Kids wearing braces she'd built walked into the courthouse themselves. News cameras captured every moment. One by one, parents testified. A boy who once needed crutches now danced on stage. A girl who was told she'd never write again now hugged Lena with her working hand. Asterisk, the council couldn't ignore it. The crowd, the proof, the love, it was real.